Welcome to another episode of Real Life Survivor Story, a talk show about real life, real people, and real stories. And if you're new and you're just tuning in, Real Life Survivor is a non-profit organization. And what makes us unique is that we're an organization for every cause, every circumstance, and every condition. So no one ever has to feel alone or suffer in silence. We share stories on every platform. And here we give you a voice. And today I'm so excited to have with us in the studio Dave Thibodeau, all the way from Moncton, New Brunswick. Thank you so much for driving all this way to come into the studio today.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure having you, honestly.
Pleasure being here.
Thank you so much. And you have an amazing, amazing story. But first I want to let the viewers know that I discovered Dave on TikTok, which is a very big platform. And his inspirational videos, his message, through everything that he's going through as a real life survivor really touched me. And I continued to watch you. And then I connected with Dave, and here you are today. So I want to thank you for your beautiful messages on TikTok. And I know that you use that for a therapy for your platform.
Absolutely.
Now, Dave is a real life survivor of a few things, and we're going to name them here: addiction, attempted suicide, anxiety, and depression. And I know the viewers watching, a lot of you have been through this or are going through this in the moment. So we have Dave here today to walk us through his journey and what he deals with on a daily basis. So I guess we'll start with, what is your everyday like?
Now it's I wake up and it's still a struggle. I still deal with all of those things. I'm never going to be cured of any of them. They're all things I carry with me on a daily basis. But now it's more of I have more tools to use to combat those things. You know, when it comes to addiction, there's recovery groups and meetings.
Yes.
You know, when the attempted suicide. I mean, there's a few times in my life where I thought, this is it. I'm not going to. I know I'm no good. I'm not worth it. People would be better without me. But now, knowing what I know now, it's definitely a lot easier to get through the daily pressures that I seem to struggle with. Because I get up and I just thank God for today. Because before, I took the days and the hours for granted. You know, we have 84,600 seconds in a day, and I used to just throw them away.
Right.
And now I try to make every one of those seconds count. So I get up every day and I thank God for allowing me to have another day to push forward. And like you said, through TikTok, whenever I get in my head, I can go through, and my algorithm is set to the point where now I just get fed positivity and motivation and blessings and God, and the friends that I've made through there, I've connected with more so than any friends I've had that I've met through my life physically, being face to face. You know, I have a lot of support on there. You know, I'm watching a woman who's struggling with cancer and who's not doing very well, but yet she finds the time to send me motivation and tell me how proud of me she is.
That's incredible.
So, you know, it's very helpful on a daily basis. So I wake up and I'm just thankful now. Before, every day was just, I struggled to want to be alive. I used to say, you know, I don't want to be here anymore. And I mean, I started selling drugs when I was a little kid, and I polluted the streets, you know. But I was a little kid being bullied in school, and I didn't want to be bullied anymore. So I figured I'd find the biggest, craziest crew of people I could find, and so I did, because that's what I watched. That's what I wished for. But when I wanted out, it was a lot harder to get out than it was in. You know, I took a few good lickings to get out.
Yes. And
then I kind of was back and forth, but because my mother kicked down doors looking for me, and she fought.
Thank God for mothers out there, right? That are dealing with.
Hoorah.
That's right, dealing with children that are going through different struggles on every level.
Yep.
And you know, we fight for what we love. And
she fought.
Yeah.
She fought, and she struggled with her own mental health issues. Right, she had to give up my brother when he was born, because her mother was very religious and was forced to give my brother away.
Okay.
And so she's had her own struggles, but because of that, she fought that much harder to make sure she didn't lose another son. So the pain she goes through still to this day allowed her to be able to save me from the streets.
We want to give a shout out to Dave's mother.
Wow.
She's watching. God bless you.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that you have that relationship with your mom.
Yeah, and we were able to connect and get back together because she ended up in the hospital, and I was able to spend a month with her when she had back surgery, and we kind of got over all of the little hurdles that we might have had, and we've been best friends ever since. You know, when I was a young kid, she'd come into my court appearances when I was making, you know, a misguided youth making wrong decisions. And you know, I've been in foster homes and group homes, many different ones, some that were there to benefit you, like I was in one in Sackville, Audrey and Mike Laurent. They were amazing people, and they helped guide us in the right direction, where other foster homes were just there for the dollar, and they really made it hard for us as a kid. So, you know, I've had people put in my path, like yourself, for a reason, and I truly believe that with the message that I got from the last interview we did, you know, even those keep me going and help me, because when days I get up and I feel like I'm blessed for today, but I just don't have that oomph. I get these messages from people that say, I saw your interview and I really appreciate you bearing it all. You know, I've had lots of friends that I lost through addiction and suicide, so even just recently. So it's a daily thing, and I definitely do still struggle with it, but I have a lot more tools now to be able to get through it, right?
And just bringing awareness to, you know, the what's going on and stuff like that is so empowering, because, you know, people out there just want to hear, you know, the story behind the survivor, basically. And so I'm so happy that you're here and that you're sharing your story, because you're helping someone out there that's watching today, that's struggling, and that felt the way you did, and that has no tools. And by you being here, you're giving them those tools. And also, again, with the messages that come through, that's what this is all about. You know, we share our story, and I always say it's like a snowball effect. Like one story inspires another story, and it opens that gate, that door, for that person that, you know, has been suffering in silence, or that feels alone through their struggle, because it's a dark time. It is very scary when you're alone at the end of the day, or wherever you are. I see a lot of people as I travel, and just, you know, I meet a lot of people through what I do, and you can feel, you know, when they're sharing with you how lost they are, I guess, in the struggle, and how alone they feel, and like nobody cares. And this is what real life survivor is all about. This is real life. We're all surviving something, and to be on this platform with you is absolutely amazing, because you are truly an inspiration to me, just by watching you on TikTok and everything that you do through your videos. It's so heartfelt, and your energy is so just impactful, and just well, it's brought you here today.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, absolutely. And I use it as a form. Like, I don't like taking. I used to take. My doctor had prescribed me with, you know, antidepressants and anxiety pills, and you know, and I have anxiety still, to the point where there's days I can't even get up. I feel like I can't get up off of my chair.
Right.
And so I do TikTok videos. I'll get out and I'll just dance and I'll shake it out, and it's a form of medication for me, because I've always loved to dance. So for me, if I stop and I do a little dance, I get out of my own head, and you know, and the comments that come in after, thank you, you've made my day. Even when I see that one thing, because to me, the best thing to do is to help somebody else.
That's right.
If I can help somebody else, and I still make mistakes, I'm human, and I'm, you know, I'm never going to be perfect, but I as long as I can help someone else smile in a run of a day, that's really all that really matters now.
And that's huge, because you know what? When you're in that dark place, and you don't feel like you have that motivation, you know what I mean? But until you find those tools.
That's right.
And all those messages that come through, it's like food. It's like
100%.
For thought, and food for just kind of like the body to grow through the inspiration that's coming through the messages.
That's right.
If that makes sense.
That's right.
So,
100%.
and it helps you know that people are watching, and they're listening, and those messages kind of clarify that. So. I just love what you do, and I thank you so much for everything that you do. On your daily life, you go to bed, you wake up, you go to work. Do you find that like a better place now with what you're using as your tools to stay motivated?
Well, when I now I find because I disconnected from everything here. I'd sold my home, I sold everything I owned, I donated my clothes to the homeless downtown. I actually went and spent time with people and saw people I grew up with downtown with nothing. And
wow.
so I went to the mountains in Greece, in just 2 hours outside of Athens, and I was pretty much just me and a guy I met in recovery who was already over there, married and been there for many, many years. And he kind of gave me a starting point and took me around and showed me. I went to monasteries with monks and with nuns and traveled to different churches. But I was technically alone because you'd see right around the same 10 people in the run of a week in this village I was in Greece. So I became a minimalist. And so when I got back to Canada, I had a rough kind of transition coming back. So I was there for 3 months. And when you're alone in the mountains in Greece for 3 months and it's so peaceful and so tranquil and so uplifting, that when I came home, I wasn't quite ready to come home yet because I was still in this Zen mode. And when I came home, I come into a city that is filled with addiction, filled with mental health issues, filled with suicide. Like, just in front of the office I was working at, right in front of the office, there was a young fellow who just took his own life, a couple weeks ago. And it seems to be surrounding the city. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, there's people that are reaching out from my city that had said, because of what you've done in the last interview, I was able to kind of open up more on my end. So I am having a hard time, but I have the tools to deal with those hard times when they come. That one deep breath. I've always chased the money and chased the cars and jewelry and all this stuff and attention. And now like I said, I value my peace more than anybody's attention,
That's right.
And it's, I did put a layer on since I've been home, but I have, again, the tools that I use, whether it's just one deep breath, no matter where I am. I don't care if I'm in a line at Tim Hortons. I'll stop, take my deep breath.
Yes.
And that's rich to me. Before it was all money and cars and stuff, and now I don't need money. I just want that peace, that little piece of heaven I'm holding here, and the God's watching over me, because I'm here obviously for a reason. I told my mom, I said, I'm on a poster and it's not missing or wanted.
That's right.
So
wow.
It's it come a long way.
That's a good scenario.
Yeah,
Yes, yes, we do these monthly posters.
Yeah.
Every month we highlight a story for the viewers watching, and you are, I guess, a celebrity for that whole month. But then again, with that said, we just because you're on a poster for the month, we check in with you for a lifetime.
Absolutely.
It's just heartfelt, and like I say, it's very impactful. We put these in all of our locations, and just in case someone's walking into a location and saying, having a bad day or just maybe a down day, and then they see a poster and say, hey, you know what, I'm going through the same thing, or my brother's going through the same thing, and they don't feel so alone through their walk. So these posters are to highlight you and the amazing behind every survivor that we touch base with.
There's some amazing survivors. I've met some of them, and they're
absolutely, it's an incredible family.
Yes.
Also, I just want to ask you, Dave, while you're here, like, you're every day. I mean, you have struggles, and now you've had your anxiety, your depression. Do you find that has do you have more control of that now?
100%. Yeah, I definitely do. And if I stay in the stinking thinking is what I call it. If I sit in my stinking thinking for too long, I used to sit there for days and weeks and months at a time, and I just was surrounded by this black cloud. But it was my own voice telling me that I wasn't good enough. It wasn't anybody else. It was my own voice. Right. So now it's a tool I have to realize it's you saying, keeping yourself here. You can pick yourself up and move on. So things have gotten so much easier with the tools that I have, whether it be surrounding myself with the right people or going and just taking that walk in the woods. And I always like talking to my son's friends or my son and them, because when you can see a little spark in one of the kids' eyes that you're talking to, or they actually take some of the advice, for me it's a big help, because I've talked to kids in group homes and foster homes over the years that I thought I was doing it wrong, because I talked to some of these kids and there's some of them ended up in jail still for some horrific crimes that and I grew up around these kids, and I watched them grow up, and now they're, they're in prison just like some of their parents were, who I hung out with.
Wow.
And so getting through to someone, is, and making them smile, or making them, helping them navigate is for me is another tool, because it's not just me. If I can surround myself and give out as much love as possible, I find that's another tool that I have. Love is all if everybody could just spread a little more love and make someone smile, the world would be a much better place. Just one smile a day can change a life.
And you're doing what you love, like you're doing what works for you, basically, like you're TikToking and your videos, and the messages come through that. So, with that said, for the viewers out there, what inspiration would you give a little boy, little girl, man, woman alike, that's going through their worst time, whether it be through addiction, attempted suicide, anxiety, or depression? What would you say to those people to kind of give them some food for thought in their darkest moments?
I guess a really good friend of mine had said, you should use a hashtag, just wait 24 hours.
I love that.
Because, no matter how bad it gets, it's like the weather, it's gonna change. So just wait 24 hours, no matter how dark it feels, no matter how hard you're being on yourself, or how much the world feels like it's crushing you, just wait 24 hours, because things will get better. Before I left for Greece, if it wasn't for someone coming at the right time, I wouldn't even be sitting here today. So, and I almost didn't wait that 24 hours. I just kept, okay, wait 24 hours, it's gonna get better, it's gonna get better. Next thing you know, I'm in the mountains and the islands of Greece.
That's right.
And now I'm here. So if I wouldn't have waited that 24 hours, I definitely wouldn't be here and being able to tell someone else to wait the 24 hours. Because even with addiction, the biggest part of it was I kept using because I felt guilty about the things I had just done.
Yes.
I wanted to bury the guilt. When you clean your side of the street through whatever, whether it's an anonymous program like NA or AA or whatever the A is, if you clean your side of the street and you just try to be a better person today than you were yesterday, it's simple as that. Just be humble, and that's one thing I had to work on. I had to work on being humble, because I went from, a drug dealer, a drug addict who wore jewelry and chains, and to, trying to be a salesman in a city where you have to stand out. So I was on the side of billboards, and there was no humility there at all. You couldn't fit my head through a door. And then once I started working on the being humble part, so humility is a big thing for me. If you can stay humble and just wait 24 hours, that'll get you through some of your darkest days, like some of your darkest days. And if not, just dance it out. Just
dance it out.
Just dance it
like
out.
we do after the show. We always do an after show dance just to bring light to the situation, because it is very hard to share your story and open up that door, because a lot of people are afraid of judgment. And for instance, they might not think you're as cool as you were before they met you 15 minutes ago. Or, this is what we have in our head. Or, they might, point fingers at you. You know what I mean? But the reality is, it's just the opposite. They're so inspired and like, wow, that you actually came out and you actually shared that. Oh my God, like I'm going through the same thing. And it actually saves a life without you even knowing it, by you sharing a story. And a lot of people, though, are private and they don't want to say. I know my clothing line that came out, a Real Life Survivor, I actually started that because my husband was terminal, and he lost his life. He lost his battle with terminal cancer in 2012. And from that, I thought to myself, the clothing line for people out there that do not have a voice, or do not want to speak, or can't speak, because in the end he could not speak. So your shirt is your message. So Real Life Survivor. So people will just know that you're going through something, because there's a story behind every shirt, and or behind every shirt is a story, as it goes. And so a lot of people, like I say, get stuck in that mindset of like, I'm just going to stay silent, I'm not going to talk about it, and then they're battling their own demons, and it's a scary life choice, basically.
100%.
But hopefully more stories like this, as we share here at Real Life Survivor, like Dave's story, will help someone out there that's watching, that's having a dark time, a dark day, just a bad struggle, and you just don't know how to get through those struggles. I mean, it's easier said than done sometimes
100%.
because a lot of people will be like, oh yeah, well, he's sharing his story, but I'm going through this, and how can I possibly get better or feel better? Again, this is why we have these shows here at Real Life Survivor, to help you, the viewers, know that you have a place to share your voice.
Absolutely.
And that we really, really do care about each and every one of you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's an amazing feeling.
I feel like a part of a family now. It's pretty awesome. Like
Yeah.
I have my family, but this is pretty cool. It's giving me something to look forward to. When you first reached out, I've never really put my life on social media. I wasn't even on Facebook until I started doing sales. And then even then, I never put my personal life on there. There was no pictures of my house or my things that I owned. It was all work. And then when TikTok came, it was this weird, I can look back at almost everything I've gone through. I can see, because those voiceovers or whatever it was that I was doing at the time,
Yes.
I can look back and see my ups and my downs. So that's why I say that, don't give up. This is I almost did, and this is my story, and that's what TikTok is. I'm just laying it out there because hopefully someone else will see it. And just a message I got the other day. This woman lost her son to addiction. He had in 2020, and she reached out and she said, I wish my son had someone like you to talk to. Wow. before he didn't make it. So, there's so many people struggling because it's such a dark time and an uncertain time right now in the world that people don't know which way to go, and there's a lot of those doors for mental health that just didn't reopen since COVID and stuff, right? So like a lot of these recovery meetings that were 50 or 60 people strong before are now 4 or 5, and just trying to grow those rooms again of hope. And as long as you have hope, that's a little bit of hope goes a long way.
Yeah, once you can find that hope and keep that in your
Absolutely.
Back pocket, let's
Absolutely.
say, you basically have made it. When you were in that mindset, that midst of attempted suicide, I mean, a lot of people out there watching, it's to a lot of people it's the easy way out. Like let's just end it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're there in that moment. I've met people that have actually went through with that. And it is something that basically stays with you for a lifetime.
It does.
The people that are left behind. And if we could have only reached out and had a moment to talk to that person. Like I always say, people just want you to take time to listen. That's why I always say, just take time to take time.
Yeah.
There's always that person, and I always use this scenario where you're passing by and you hey, and you're like, I gotta go, I have a meeting, or I'm gonna be late for work, or I have a doctor's appointment.
Yeah.
You know what? Take that 5 minutes.
Yeah.
If you're 5 minutes late, that could be that 5 minutes that you save this person's life.
Yes.
Because I've heard of stories like that where they didn't take those 5 minutes, and that person decided to do something that maybe could have been saved. So always take time to take time.
Yes.
It's so important.
Yes.
And
A message or even when I was coming here today, walking up the street, and this woman's like walking bare feet in the street, and she's like, "Happy Saturday!"
Oh wow!
Just and people are kind of looking at her like she's crazy, but it's like she just made my day. Coming up here, it's a nice, beautiful city compared to home. I mean, home's nice, but it's not what it used to be. So having someone walk up the street screaming "Happy Saturday" to everybody, that's gonna make so many people's day. Just people look at her like she's crazy. But I'm like, no, this is amazing what she just did, right? She just gave me goosebumps and gave me chills. So
she's probably going through the hardest time in her life, struggling, living on the streets. But hey, she gave you that message, and she must have found that hope, to make her day and then make your day at the same time.
Absolutely.
Which is amazing people, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and if you don't make a permanent solution on a temporary feeling, I heard that said, and since the suicide attempt, I keep that in my head because the feeling's temporary. This is going to pass no matter how bad it is, because we've survived 100% of our worst days so far. Anything that we thought was our worst day, we're never going to get through it. Well, if you're still breathing in here, you've survived everything.
Yes.
So what's to come it should be all cakewalk.
And there's always tomorrow. You know what I mean?
Hopefully.
Hopefully. I know.
If I'm blessed with it,
I know.
hopefully.
But my point to that story, my point to that is there's always tomorrow, based on if you wait those.
That's right.
Right?
Wait 24 hours.
24 hours.
Wait. It'll
There's
change.
always tomorrow.
Just like
Just
the
give
weather.
it, one more sleep.
Hoorah.
And exactly, and just kind of go with that, because
right.
that's so important today. And it's some people just need that direction and that food for thought and that person in that moment just to take that few seconds to say, hey,
That's
and take time to talk to people.
That's right. Yes.
Because you're going to feel better afterwards for not rushing away.
That's right.
And they're going to walk away with something that they needed to hear, or a feeling that they needed to feel. So
Exactly.
it's so important. So
Exactly.
with that said, I want to thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for your message today. And remember to wait 24 hours,
Just wait.
no matter what you're going through.
Ah.
And thank you for driving in all the way from Moncton.
Hello.
It's a pleasure having you in the studio.
Always a pleasure being around.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I want to thank you guys for tuning in today, all the viewers. And if you're someone out there watching that would like to share your real life survivor story with us, you can connect with me on Facebook under Julie Comeau, and also on my fan page under Real Life Survivor. And remember, no matter the struggle, no matter the challenge, no matter the obstacle, never give up. We'll see you back here next time with another Real Life Survivor story.